3, 4. Let me take a look at what do you got? I'm moving to the speculation station a lot. Speculation station.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Speculation Station podcast.
Hello and welcome. I'm Will.
I'm Tom.
And in this show, one of us brings in a mystery object, and this week it's...
Well, it's me. I'm bringing in the mystery object, and what do we do with that mystery object? We use it to create our own story.
That's the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
I know, right? Have you ever thought of anyone coming up with a story?
No one's ever created stories before.
No, completely. So we've started this whole unique idea called a story, where at the beginning of the story, something happens, and at the end of the story, something else is happening.
In between those two things, other stuff happens.
Yeah, basically.
Quite revolutionary.
Yeah, I mean, it'll change your life.
Maybe it won't take off.
Okay, so... let's dive in. Okay, are you ready for the object?
Dive on in, I'm ready.
Okay, so close your eyes.
I've closed them, my hands are out.
You're more than ready.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so...
Don't put your dick in my hand, anything like
no,
that.
I would not.
We've never done that to each
well,
other.
you know, I
never say never.
I can't really lean over this table in an easy way, so... I've got a small object for you, but be ready, be a little careful with your hands if you don't mind.
A small object for me.
Yeah.
Okay, be careful with it. Okay, so it's something within a laminated packet.
Yes.
Or protected
I advise
packet.
you kind of feel the whole surface, and you might notice one small...
I mean, it's lovely to feel. I mean, there's a small amount of dimpling on one end.
Yes. So the dimple... what do you think that dimple might be?
Sort of like a seal, a sticker, something like that stuck on. Or a little bit of string, a little bit of thread maybe. I can't hang on any longer, I have to look at it.
Yeah, you'd use your eyes.
Oh, okay, so it was a little baggy.
A little baggy.
Seal at the top, yeah. So that's what I was feeling, a little bump. And it says, here is your Odessa meteorite. This piece of the Odessa, Texas iron meteorite fell about 3,200 years ago. I am going to read the whole thing.
Please do.
Blasting out a crater 600 feet across. It is now nearly filled with sand and barely visible from the highway. Discovered in 1923, thousands of fragments have been collected over the years. It is believed that the meteorite was formed 4.5 billion with a B years ago at the time of the formation of the solar system itself. That's amazing. Just in case the camera can pick up, it's a tiny little bit of a meteorite. That's amazing. How long have you had that?
It's so long I don't exactly remember.
I've never seen it. I've seen a lot of your cool stuff before. I've never seen that one,
okay,
actually.
It's been on my wall in every room I've ever had.
So I've never noticed.
Yeah.
I mean, I must have done and I just haven't recorded it. Okay, and how do you know it's real?
I mean, I don't. Quite honestly, so...
take it on faith. Okay, lovely.
It was sent to me, I believe, by an auntie. I can't quite remember. Probably my auntie who lives in America. So.
It's so cool that it's small and it's old. It's 4.5 billion years old. I don't think there's anything else in this room that's that old.
Well, some of the, rocks might be. Do I keep rocks in my room?
I keep rocks in my room, yes. I mean, you absolutely do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, immediately, it makes me think of space. Space. We love space. I love space.
You see, actually, I hate space. Don't you think space is
nothing
awful?
Interesting. Why do we go to space? Such a waste of money.
So, and that is a very brief thing. So, why do you think people hate the idea of going to space? Why do you think people think it's wasteful?
Because, and actually, interesting you mention that because I saw someone talking about this online the other day. A counter argument to people saying, "Why are we spending money on space programs when there are so many people in need here?"
Yes.
Says people who actually never help people on Earth, right? And someone was saying, like, what do you think happens to the money spent on space probes? Do you think it blasts into space with the astronauts? All of that money goes back into the economy. It pays for jobs and engineering and products and companies.
It employs people for a start.
It employs people, yes. The money isn't blasted into space.
In fact, it not only it employs the people at, say, NASA, it employs the people at Roscosmos, but it also doesn't just employ those government employees, it employs all the subcontracted firms that they use to build everything.
Yeah.
It employs scientists. And of course, by doing this, we increase our technology, which then goes into the real world and helps us build our mobile phones and all other sweet electronic devices.
Diseases.
But and that's the spin-off argument for it.
It is, yeah.
But it's also just wonderful that we get to explore space. Don't you think that back at home?
Chickets.
And if you don't, why are you listening to this podcast?
Because we are an interesting podcast of interesting things.
Very serious. Yeah. So yes, make sure you're very interesting all the time.
I think these days there's a disconnect between people's feelings about the space program and our exploration of space. If you think back to the 60s, and we are getting to the 50th anniversary this year.
Exactly,
right?
yes, of the moon landings themselves.
The 50th anniversary of the moon landings, right? And I guess for people living in those times in the 60s, the space race was all-encompassing, and there was no need to argue why it was useful. They had to beat the Ruskies, first of all, and it was just the pride of being humans who were trying to get into space. Now it's almost so mundane that people think it's something they can lose interest over, but it's still amazing. It's still wondrous. Never stops being that.
Well, that's fascinating. I think I'm really excited about the idea of space. I mean, that's obviously what promoted me, the idea of me bringing the object.
Absolutely.
Like, let's talk space. And so I think, obviously space is our subject. So there are a couple of ways we can go about this. We can go like with a sort of historic, sort of like, let's do, like a moon landing style sort of story, or an alternate history moon landing.
Racy one.
Or we can do a little bit of, let's do the future of moon travel, or the future of like asteroid capture, which is another big thing going on at the moment. People talking about capturing or even saving the Earth from asteroid collisions, another big thing going on at the moment. So
I like everything with asteroids, actually. This is something that's being talked about right now, isn't it? People like Musk and Bezos talking about getting up there and harvesting resources from meteorites, and that's going to be a big thing if we can do that. So I think a story along those lines fascinates me.
Okay, yeah, I'm with that.
Makes it a little hard.
A little hard, yes, hard for all that fucking meaty rock.
Yes. Is that what they're called, meteorites?
Well, actually, apparently meteorites aren't very solid. A lot of them are just like a loose tumble of rocks together.
Isn't really that the nature of the universe? So mostly nothing, just a surface collection of
not quite
details.
that, but just like more like a load of rubble together, because there's not enough gravity to crush it down necessarily. It depends on the size of the asteroid and the particular whether it was created in a big lump in the first place.
So they're not all single
lumps at all.
Yeah,
no.
that makes sense.
They just, a lot of them can just be these sort of weird conglomerations of rubble.
Okay.
So I think I like the idea of us telling a sort of maybe a sort of near future-ish.
I was just thinking that same phrase.
Maybe, so where maybe we do like, because they're talking about them, going to the Mars in 2025.
Yeah. Manned Mars mission.
I don't quite believe that. But I think we take it a little further, maybe to 2050, right? Where we're sending like maybe we've got some spaceships out there, right? We've got a few more space stations up, and we're going out and capturing, the first asteroid, or maybe the second asteroid, or we're going particularly deep, or doing something like that, something interesting.
I like it immediately.
But immediately I'm going, what can go wrong with that? Because it's all very romantic and exciting. Where's the threat in this?
You could go a little.
There's aliens, obviously.
Exactly
There's an alien virus.
To be fair, I prefer the threat from within. It's that the threat is ourselves. To be honest, actually, now I think about it, if it comes to asteroid capture and resource harvesting, it's rival corporations and conglomerates that are battling it out in space.
You could almost, that's sort of going with the whole SpaceX versus like Boeing, or or Virgin, whoever the other space companies are.
I mean, there's a few, but none of them are quite as forefront as SpaceX, right?
SpaceX sexes itself up much better than everybody else, let's be honest.
I mean, it sounds like sex already, SpaceX.
Yes, and it's not hiding behind a flashy corporate name, it just is SpaceX, right?
I think I heard someone online talking about the other day that Elon Musk named some Tesla variants. One was the Model S, one was a Model E, and one was a Model X. And together it spells sex. Because he's Musk, and that's what he likes to do. He smokes the weed, he talks about sex, and for some reason, that makes him unpopular with shareholders because it worries him that he's a human.
Even though, what wasn't it? Just the fact he's weird, they sort of don't want to allow him out in public anymore.
That's it. And he has to have his tweets reviewed by lawyers before they can go out. Just a bloke who wants to, say what he wants.
Which is very strange, which is... it's a shame that big companies are run that way. And let's dive in then. So
we need a kind of a Bezos Musk-like figure, I think. A benefactor who makes this happen.
A benefactor, but I think we also need the person who's like leading the team. And then we have their rival team as well.
Okay, I like that. So we're talking about private teams, right?
Private teams for two private companies.
In 2050, probably most things are privatised into space.
Yeah, I think we just focus on two private companies, keep it really simple.
Lovely.
Maybe we could mention a third one, but...
Okay, rival companies.
So let's talk about different philosophies of the companies.
Oh, I like that.
So I guess we could have one that's a lot more... flashy and SpaceX-y, right?
Yes.
So we've got a flashy company, and what's
flashy with heart?
Flashy with heart.
Kind of neo-modern thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Sort of like with what do you call it? Disruptive.
That's it. Disruptive neo-hippie tendencies.
Neo-hippie Drink smoothies, yeah.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
The other one's got to be all
So old school corporate,
old school
long-standing company
that's been going back hundreds of years in one way or another.
School corporate, but has massive, big money.
Big money and big influence.
Yeah, corporate. Yeah, but what do you call it? Their disadvantage is less flexible, I guess.
Yes,
Less
that's a good point. I need a disadvantage.
But they're further ahead on the project or something like that.
Yeah,
at the beginning.
less flexibility and also a totally rigid management structure that doesn't allow for any change, which I guess, like I say, is a flexibility issue.
So let's name these companies then.
Excellent. Let's start with the old school one.
The old school one.
Traditionalist company.
Like,
I'm guessing their road to the present time in the story at least has been like, they were maybe a mining company back in the 1800s, and then they were a something company in the early 1900s.
And they started subcontracting for NASA or whatever, early on. So that's how they started building rockets or whatever. Like,
I like classic companies that have like a General Electric, something standard. They're really weighty old names.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Standard Space and Mining, something like that.
Yeah.
They're also quite bland. They don't kind of tell you what they actually do.
Almost like, since it's about asteroids and they're already a mining company, why aren't they like just Standard Rock?
Standard Rock, love it.
I think that might be a company actually.
We could add something extra like Standard Rock and Minerals, or Standard Rock and
Gravel.
Perfect. No, Standard Rock. Let's leave it. Even if it is a company name, I'm sure they'll be humble.
Better than General Rock, I'll tell you that.
Sure, rock standard.
Okay. Standard Rocks. Okay, there we go.
Standard Rocks. Okay. The flashy hippy dippy company.
Okay, so it's got to have, maybe it's got, again, we're flavouring it with asteroid again, maybe because that was the target of this company, was to get asteroids.
But also getting beyond Earth, so maybe it's like Beyond Corporation.
Yes.
Which is, again,
I like Beyond. I think we need to add something to it, like Beyond Stratosphere or
Beyond Terra Firma. And they're called BTF or Beyond TF.
I like Beyond Terra.
Yeah, just Beyond Terra.
I think that's simple.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think they need to be known as BT. I think it's just Beyond Terra.
That's already an established company in the UK.
Of course it is, yes.
Of course, it's British twats. British Telecom.
I always get it confused with BP, which is British Petroleum, which is far more...
Went through a rebranding thing.
Of course, please don't sue us, BP, but you're a wonderful company, and we would like to buy all of your oil.
I think BP are more beholden to people suing them these days than them suing others. Remember the whole Tony Hayward, I'm sorry, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I've polluted the environment.
Oh, of course. I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah.
So these guys are a bit more like BP, actually.
Who, the Standard Rocks guys?
Standard Rocks, yeah. They're probably just known as SR, by the way.
Exactly, yes. SR
Nobody says Standard Rock.
And Beyond Terra, yeah.
And Beyond Terra are just known as Beyond Terra. So let's talk about...
characters?
So yeah, a little bit about characters. I think we just have a sort of general corporate sort of... This is kind of faceless we have for Standard Rock. It's a kind of faceless company. We don't really know who the CEO is. None of that.
Oh, yes.
We might get to the main team, but we'll get to the teams in a minute.
Sure.
I want to go for who's the flash entrepreneurial...
Who's the Musk?
Who's the Musk, yeah.
Okay. Let's think about a nationality, because American British is done to death. I know Musk is actually South African in birth.
I believe so, yeah.
But what's unusual? Argentine, Chilean, South America.
I like South America. I'm also sort of Morocco would be bizarre.
A Moroccan.
Yeah, something like that.
Some space.
Well, it doesn't have to be, because he's a businessman, right? He could still have businesses in the US and Russia and other places like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because you're...
Well, let's say he's Moroccan, and then now challenge us to come up with Arabic names that we're not very good at.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
I think I spent all of my creativity on the previous episode naming Arabic names. Check out previous episodes, viewers and listeners. He says, finger gunning the cameras like a cool guy.
Okay, yes, check out the video feed for more details.
I'm going to finger gun the mic for all the listeners.
Yeah.
You can't hear it, but I'm doing it.
Pew, 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 pew.
Thank you. That's the sound of finger gun.
Okay, so let's brainstorm a name for this Moroccan billionaire.
Yeah.
We can have him have a westernized first name if that helps.
Yes, and an Arabic surname. That would really help, yes. Something very established as a first name, like a Charles or a...
Charles Fashid.
Yeah, Charles Fashid. Lovely paradox of a name.
Yeah.
Simple. I thought it was going to be a lot harder.
Charles, I'm going to go X for Sheed.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, so mysterious.
We'll never know what that X stands for.
Where did he make his money? Because, Musk made his money in PayPal.
So, yeah, maybe something techie, but... or unless it was just something like fracking or natural gas or something.
I like that. It gives him that precedence for going into space for resources.
Yeah, fracking.
Which is also quite controversial, so it gives a little bit of conflict already.
Yeah, so he's maybe he over-fracked, and so there's...
Yes.
But these guys are worse, so, and this guy maybe is trying to, do it in an interesting way. So what? Let's talk about their different goals before we come up with their teams. So what's the goal of these guys? They're in my imagination, these guys are going there to take the asteroid and exploit it. And just turn it into more materials.
Exploit it until it's done.
Yeah. Here, maybe it's just, exploit the minerals as much as possible. While you're there, build a giant build a base on the asteroid.
By here, I presume you mean the Beyond Terra guys.
Yeah, Beyond Terra, my bad. On the asteroid, so they mine the asteroid, maybe about 50% of its mass, maybe about 70% of its mass. The rest of their mass, they convert that into a cool space station they can use for further, deeper space operations. So they've got a deeper, more ambitious
for
plan.
Longevity.
Yeah, whereas these guys, short.
By these guys,
shareholder benefit.
You mean Standard Rock?
I mean Standard Rock.
Okay, because the listeners don't know who you mean by these guys.
Standard Rocks.
Standard Rocks.
Yeah, or SR.
SR and
SR Corp. Okay.
Corp, sure, I like that.
And Beyond Terra. So let's talk about. So these guys are obviously going to assemble some teams to start doing this.
I can already see a kind of Armageddon type thing where you've got to go and look for the elite drillers and the elite miners, perhaps, to send them into space. Although we don't want to do Armageddon, but I can certainly see an ordinary person being brought into this project.
Okay, so
maybe a fish out of water type storyline.
I like the leader of the Beyond Terra team being like some kind of miner. Maybe it could be something like a coal miner. I think something like coal mining is going out of fashion. We don't need coal as much anymore. So maybe just like the leader of this team is an ex-coal miner. Yeah, and
for that to make sense, the orbital launch vehicles need to be like the old American shuttles. Because if you remember, the best thing about the shuttle, one of the greatest things about the shuttles, was that you didn't need to be a complete astronaut to fly in one. So they, back in the shuttle days, they would send up, as we know, teachers and scientists and blah blah blah.
They're still doing the Soyuz, but they can't.
Sure, but they have to be very well-rounded astronauts now to make room in the Soyuz for you. So they need to go up in shuttles or a modern, cool 2050 shuttle.
Whatever's beyond the Orion or whatever it is, the next thing. Yeah. So, or the space launch vehicle, but I think that's just the rocket.
Let's think about this guy or gal then, who's the ex-coal miner.
So ex-coal miner. What nationality would you say?
Australian. I'm seeing an Australian woman called Shirley.
Australian. Shirl.
Made billions from mining, because Australian mining is a big business.
Okay, so made
billions in coal mining in Australia. Or maybe mineral mining, whatever we want.
Maybe like copper. That's more modern.
Copper, love it.
Let's change copper mining. Yeah, copper mining. Yeah, I think there's copper in Australia. It doesn't matter if there's not.
Well, there is now. Or they find some in 2040.
So, cool. So we got Shirl Basset.
I was thinking of a B word. Yeah, Shirl Basset.
Shirl Basset, right?
Yeah, from Victoria.
Right, yeah, so, and she, maybe she started her own mining company, that kind of thing.
People do in Australia,
I like that. So, just come up with the leader of the other team. We don't need to focus quite so much on that, we'll learn about them as we go on, but who is the leader of SR Corp's team?
Grizzled veteran astronaut from America's space program.
Okay, so veteran.
Yeah, veteran US astronauts, yeah. One of the old school types with the buzz cut hair and the
jaded
kind of
buzz cut,
outlook.
buzz cut, yeah. So what's his name?
Deacon.
No, Deacon.
Deacon. Gotta have a real sharp surname.
Carter.
Close. The K sound is good. Deacon Cutter.
Like Kleinfeld.
That's a little weaker. What about Cutter?
Oh, I see what you're getting. Deacon Cutter.
Yes, it's a very action film name, but
I'm going
with it.
Deacon Cutter.
D-cut. No, we'll call him D-cut.
Otherwise he breaks their necks.
Judo chop.
Spaces them.
Spaces them out the airlock.
Yes. So we got. So that's kind of our. So This guy's no comparable. So why is this guy? So maybe this guy, I want him to be a bit sort of like willing to go, be more ruthless. So
Exactly.
why? Maybe, why is this person willing to be more ruthless than the other one?
Well, he's probably ex-military as well as that's where he came from, his astronaut training.
Military.
So ruthlessness is his game.
Okay, so yeah, and paid to be ruthless. Yeah.
Yeah, paid handsomely to be incredibly ruthless, which is fine by him because he does it anyway and he gets paid for it.
Cool. Yeah. Sweet. Okay, so we've got the ex-coal miner versus the veteran US astronaut.
I mean, really, that's pro tag and antag sorted in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly what we're talking about. So, I think we might want to build out the Shirl Basset's team, the Beyond Terra team a little bit. But I think let's talk about how does Beyond Terra's mission get started? How does Shirl Basset get brought in?
That's what I was trying to think about. Indeed, has she been? Was this a goal of hers, an aim of hers to join a space program, or is it a case of...
I think it'd be more interesting if it's the other way around, actually, where, maybe she sold off her company and sort of went into, sort of quasi-retirement or whatever, and then just got assaulted by our Charles X Fashid, came in and was like, hey, here's my business card, I'm starting this new company, Beyond Terra. We're going to capture this asteroid as quickly as possible. This new one that's coming close to Earth, maybe for an extra bit of threat.
That would give it a nice ticking clock element.
Yeah,
if it was.
it's a
Earth
giant asteroid, and they go, no, not going to capture it. So these guys capture it, of course. Stop it hitting Earth, of course. Mine it. These guys capture it and develop it.
By these guys, whom do you mean?
So I mean, Standard Rock and their team with Deacon Cutter in the lead. Those guys are going to. Capture it, capture it, and ruthlessly mine it for materials.
And Beyond Terra,
and their team with Shirl Basset in the lead.
Yeah,
or Shirl Basset, with his terrible accent just there. They're going to do something a little bit more with it. They're going to make a sort of space base to go to the future.
Want to put some infrastructure in? Yeah, okay. I think that our Shirl maybe lost everything in a deal gone wrong with the Chinese.
Okay, lost.
Because Aussies and mining deals are often in league with China.
Chinese, yeah, that makes sense.
So it gives her another reason to need
a bit more desperate. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so she's brought in on her, first day. She's been like, he brings her into this giant warehouse. She said, "Here's all these scientists. Here's all these, I imagine her immediately saying, "I'm building my own team."
I like that. Yeah,
the classic team. Yeah,
she'll need some of her Aussie cohorts.
So yeah,
maybe
not all Australian.
Yeah, sure. Some famous mining types from around the world. She's like, you'll need this.
Yeah, not just mining as well, because she's got to think she's going to need builders as well. People are able to construct stuff out there.
Yeah,
you're going to need people that are good at processing minerals, because you're going to need to build machines out there that process minerals into building materials that then you can turn into a space station out there. So
what's our excuse for not training astronauts to do these jobs rather than training people who do these jobs to be astronauts?
Because you need the special skills. Just like when you're saying scientists up.
That's a good point.
You need the specialist skills.
Do they have an accelerated training program to get them ready for space?
I mean, we can, yeah. Why not?
I mean, it's 2050. By then, they might have a different nature of space.
It might be a lot easier.
Yeah.
So, in fact, let's assume that we have probably not a space elevator. Let's be serious.
No.
Because that's going to take about 100 years to build. So let's say we just have, in the vein of the current SpaceX thing, lots of things like reusable rockets. So it's just easier to get there. It's fairly companies can pay to get payloads up there more easily. And
Lovely, I love that.
Including people.
Okay.
So, and there are space stations up there. There's a number of space stations in space. Maybe a moon base going on.
I'd hope by 2050, but it's
very unlikely. So maybe there's a basic moon base.
Yes, it's like a forward operating base in military terms.
Yeah,
very basic. Yeah,
very simple
frontier.
So let's talk about. So how's she going to build her team? So let's talk about those maybe 2 or 3 people she might bring onto the team.
I think it'd be in terms of story terms, it'd be fun for her to go around the world and find those people on Beyond Terra's dime.
Yes, okay, yeah.
They fly her probably in their private jet wherever she needs to go.
And she sort of walks up to them with sunglasses and
yes, I need you.
You
for
remember
a job.
me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there's got to be one enemy in there, an old enemy who she has to reconcile with.
Yeah, okay,
with,
so
right?
we'll come to the end. Let's do the enemy last. I'd like to do 2 others before the enemy. So let's have 3 team members.
A very well-known person to her, someone she was friends with.
Somebody she trusts. So
That'll
maybe
be like a right-hand man or woman.
Yeah, so maybe this person's more just another one of her, basically the miner she always worked, somebody who did the mining work, somebody who dug tunnels, like a drilling expert or something.
Yes, like her lead foreman back in the day.
Yeah, so
might not be the
foreman,
right term, but we'll go with it.
Foreman, drill dude. Okay, and what's he called?
Jack.
Periscope.
I mean, I like the stupid nickname. Actually, call him Periscope Jack.
Yeah.
Because he's always underground, and he might poke his head up now and then to see what's happening on the surface.
Thumpton.
Okay, Periscope Jack Thumpton. Where's he from? British.
I was going to actually just say Australian again.
I think he's British who went out to Australia to
Okay,
make,
so he's got one of those weird accents, yeah.
Oh God, let's not try and do
a
hybrid British Aussie accent.
Yeah. Periscope Jack Thumpton.
Yes, okay, lovely. Where did she find him?
I think she's been. Where was he? So
maybe Africa. There's got lots of resource mining over there.
Yeah, so it could maybe sort of off the coast of Madagascar or something. It could be like maybe drilling for oil or something. Who knows? Something
Wicked.
like that. Yeah,
or some other maybe fracking for gas.
Yeah, like fracking for gas
off the coast of Madagascar.
Can you do that? We don't know.
No. By 2050, they'll be.
You can frack anywhere.
If you're listening to this in 2050 and people are fracking for gas off Madagascar, please tell them they owe us some money.
Yes, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe for
comment
Madagascan coastal
Send us a
fracking.
comment on whatever on earth you're listening this or watching this on, if YouTube or iTunes even exist. Right, so that's Periscope Jack Thompson or Thumpton.
Okay, fracking off the coast of Madagascar.
Yeah, so fracking Madagascar. Yeah, so...
And then we'll think about the next person, quick sharp. She convinces him.
Yeah, I think that's pretty easy. He's like, yeah, anything.
Well, there's also the sense of narrative causality. Characters have to do it because that's what the story is.
Well,
right?
yeah, but I think this guy just trusts her and is up for anything she does because they've worked together before. That kind of thing.
Oh, Shirl. Yes,
yeah. So
it.
who's the next one?
Okay, another friendly type.
Yeah, another friendly type, but
I think someone who's a bit off the wall, a bit off kilter.
A scientist, then.
Okay, a scientist. Yes, like a mining scientist.
Well, yeah, maybe even a chemist.
A seismologist. Keep them safe when they're.
I see. Yeah, like geologist is probably.
A geologist, like okay, I like that a lot.
So yeah,
a woman.
Yeah, I was saying maybe. So potentially we could do someone from like Italy.
Ooh, not had an Italian.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, female Italian geologist.
Yeah, can we think of an Italian name?
Rack the brains for Italian female names.
Florencia.
Not quite. I like you going with it. Maria. Let's go with Maria. Nice and simple.
Maria
works for a whole bunch of Europe.
Yeah.
No.
Postachelli.
Postachelli. The P sound doesn't fit, does it?
Chesterkelly, Westerkelly.
Not chest or west. That's very Anglo. Maria. Actually, Puzzanelli. So that's Puzzanelli. It matters to me. Oh, you've spelt it with P-O-O-T. Put.
Puzzanelli.
Puzzanelli. Hey, Puzzanelli, what you doing?
Oh, Puzzanelli. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Puzzanelli.
Gotcha.
I'm going to write it down on my card just so
you feel good about yourself.
Exactly that.
Right, so Maria Puzzanelli, right,
Yeah.
and then who this final figure, and I think this person should probably be like the expert in the area that she needs, right? She really needs.
Also her ex-husband.
Okay, ex-husband, immediately love it. That's
right.
classic, yeah.
Ex-husband, expert, the world's only expert on the thing
which
she
is
needs.
basically building space space infrastructure. Sorry, is the word I was looking for. So yeah, basically building space stations. Expert.
Yeah. Oh, okay. He was a
space station builder.
Wow.
Okay.
Or space station developer.
So maybe he built like so a few Russian space stations, and a few Chinese space stations.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So,
No Western ones.
Yeah. Yes. Space. It's a renegade.
Renegade. Space station constructor.
Space station builder.
Thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Need a name for him. Francis, is that a bit too
wet?
Too wet, yeah.
This guy I see wearing stubble more or less perpetually.
Okay, Frank.
It's got to be Frank, yeah.
Frank Dustin.
No.
Stoneworthy.
Frank Dusk.
Frank Dusk is a bit like a gay porn star. Hey, I'm Frank Dusk. Want me to put my dick in you?
Frank, I don't know, Slam.
A slab.
Frank Slab.
Frank Slab, do it. Write it down.
Frank
that
Slab.
makes it permanent.
Yeah, it's done. So Frank Slab,
Where
the
did she find him?
renegade space station builder and ex-husband of
Shirl
Shirl Basset.
Okay, where is he? I mean, if he builds space stations, he's got to be somewhere near a spaceport.
I'm going to say he's going to be in Russia, right?
Russia?
Right.
Yeah, maybe Star City, what they call it.
Oh,
That's
Baikonur. I can never pronounce.
Baikonur.
Baikonur. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Star City, I think it's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
known as.
So yeah, he's hanging out there.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where all his contracts come from.
Yeah, so maybe he's just
Russia.
doing a deal there for yet another Russian. So the Russians at this point, I'm imagining, have a string of space stations.
That's great, yes.
And they're all small but sort of interconnected and have little crafts going between them.
Yeah, safety in numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What convinces him that it's better to drop these lucrative space station contracts and go into space with his ex-wife?
And why on earth would she be okay with this? Well, because
Yeah.
she needs him. She needs him.
She needs him, but why would he want to do it? Why would he need to do it?
Yeah.
Maybe the reason he builds space stations for the Russians and the Chinese and not, Westerners is because he burned some bridges with them. Maybe he's even got a criminal record with them, and this will expunge it. This will clear his record.
Okay, yeah, so great. He's got a criminal record, and he's maybe been done for spying by the US government as well.
Yes, and they're
Right.
willing to wash that away if he does
of course.
this mission.
Fantastic. So what I want, she's got her team together.
Yeah.
What do you think is the first thing she should be doing?
What after this, how she gets the team together?
Yeah.
Is trying to cohesify that team, glue them together, and they have to train. So it's not really in her hands. They have to train.
So they're doing astronaut training first. Are they doing this before they start the planning for the project? I mean, in a real project, the planning would have started.
It'd be parallel. They're planning the project.
So the scientist is obviously doing because the scientist will be coming, but the scientist is also going to be leading the geologist is going to be leading how to build the mining equipment and how
I
they're going to
think
break
maybe
down
the
the
first thing
mineral.
she needs to do as an active decision is to create a team dynamic and make sure they understand that she's the leader and that they understand what each of their roles will be
I like that.
as they train
So
as well.
they're training. So we've got a training montage going on here. Cut to. I want to cut to the villains.
The sleek grey steel villains.
So I just wanted to give us an overview. We don't need to get into the detail. Maybe we could touch on a sidekick for Deacon Cutter with in SR Corp. But they're just already they're smashing out giant spaceships and doing tests and stuff's going crazy.
Throwing money at everything.
Yeah. And maybe they're already sending guys to space. They're building. They've already got their first rockets. And maybe they've actually got a moon base where they're launching from to give them a head
base.
start. So yeah, moon base. Yeah. So they got a moon base going, and you sort of get in the moon base, and they've got a team of like ex-military, of course, from all over the world, sort of merc types,
X-Space program.
Yeah, and they've got this big team, and they're just getting together. They're building a spaceship on the moon, right? Building craft.
I like that. Building a specific,
craft.
Customized mine-raping spacecraft.
Yeah, it's mine raping. Yes, I like that, mine raping.
Because that's their attitude, really. Rape it for its resources.
Spacecraft, yeah. Because they just want more minerals to build more electronics or whatever. They'll sell them. Sell the raw materials to 1,000 other companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we know
But also,
the price of steel, everybody.
I think also that they want to set the precedent that they're the guys you go to for this work, and they're the big cheeses in that world.
Cool, I think that's fine. That's all we need to cut to.
Yeah, really.
So let's go to the next phase of the story, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the character's already accepted the story. So where is this team going next? Where is the Beyond Terra team going? What's the next step?
I think something interesting and conflict here might be they need to go up into space, but they have to go to Standard Rock's moon base to refuel and blah blah blah. So it's a very odd sleeping with the enemy type thing where you have to share their resources because.
So I assume you're saying they've probably built all the craft and they've done all that kind of stuff.
They were probably, as you say, planning it for years before they even signed people up to it.
So I'm trying to come up with a scene here. So are they just meeting at this moon base?
Yeah.
When it's happening, so is that where we're cutting to next, or are we cutting to
or is there a
their
scene
first
of them
flight?
Traveling,
Yeah, I feel like just a little moment of them of the team bonding, as well.
Some of them bond, some of them don't.
So maybe they have a problem with the launch, right? So they have a
good conflict, yeah.
Yeah, so a problem with team launch, yeah. So how does that go? So let's talk about it. So obviously their goal is to get to the moon, which is their first stepping point. So what goes wrong?
Okay, something I thought of is to make it more character specific as well.
Yeah.
She doesn't like flying.
Yes.
It's probably come out in those earlier scenes where you've got to travel the world and pick people up. And so being strapped to a rocket is like the worst kind of flying fear you can have.
Yeah.
And let's say one of the attached boosters is loose or misfiring, and it's making the rocket shake, and they're twisting gyroscopically as well. So it's a real bad thing for our protagonist, especially.
That's interesting. So basically, is Frank Slab doing the main piloting, since he's the space experienced one? Probably.
Well, no, I think they have
a team.
They have assigned pilots.
Okay, yeah,
pilots,
right.
Yeah,
Just
probably secondary characters, tertiary characters.
Yeah, spear carriers.
Yeah, it's more about the team in the back and how they're handling it. And how they're handling that journey.
So, what's their conversation like? So I expect they kind of there's a little bit.
I like a characterful conversation between Frank and Shirl.
So Frank and Shirl. So
maybe they have to start reconciling old differences.
I feel like they're both quite, because they're both kind of business heady and stuff like that. Maybe it's not like they're having a sort of emotional conversation.
Okay.
Maybe it's a little bit of a snarking back and forth.
Yes.
So like a little bit of like one of them makes a snarky comment while talking to one of the others.
She wants to know what he's been doing and how he's been on the run from the Western governments.
So she's making sort of sly comments about that, and he's like jabbing back.
Yes, and you get an idea of the previous nature of their married relationship, how they go at each other.
Yeah, so it's quite hot. It's quite, what do you call it? They were the kind of couple who argued heavily and then had makeup sex.
Crazy passionate makeup
sex. Yeah.
Yeah, so even in this conversation, you get that picture of like it could turn into sex any moment for them.
Yeah.
That's why their relationship was so dangerous. Rather than breaking up, they're always kind of getting
fantastic.
Back together.
Yeah. So maybe they shouldn't. Maybe again, that's something we can deal with as the story goes on. But maybe it should go terribly wrong. So let's talk about how the other two reacting, Maria Puccinelli and Periscope Jack. How are these two reacting to this?
What to their conversation?
Well, just to the fact that there's this awkwardness going on between the two. Let's focus it around.
Periscope Jack knows her well because they work together. Yeah. So I guess in a way he's almost got a horse in that race, right? He wants to protect Shirl. He doesn't like Frank. Maybe there's a slight romantic.
I think that's
tension
possible
between Periscope Jack and Shirl.
And maybe he's just maybe Periscope Jack's not quite as a slab of meat that Frank is, with all his stubble and rugged good looks.
Periscope Jack's more of a quiet
but intelligent guy. He's a fracking expert. Maybe he's not buff either.
That just sounds like you're saying he's a fucking expert in Battlestar language. He's a fracking expert. Frack you, motherfucker. Any Battlestar fans? No. Okay, moving on.
So yeah, there's a little bit there. So and how is he conversing with Maria, or is she?
Yes. So you got these dual conversations going on. And you can kind of flip back
and
forth.
And they are sort of listening in.
Exactly. And Maria wants to know a bit more about what's going on with Shirl and Frank from Jack, who does know something about the situation. So we can find out about all four of these characters through these double conversations, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Sweet. That's great. I think that's a great little
scene. Yeah.
Done. So they arrive at the moon base.
Yes.
And they see as they land, right? As they're coming into port, as it were. There's they could see the huge spaceship being carved out of the rock.
Mind-raping vessel.
Yeah, this horrible thing that's been built on the moon, which is of course incredibly controversial with like environmentalists. Think about that, and those kind of people who are like, the moon should be pristine,
Oh, and they've started harvesting.
They're just just ruining the moon to build this thing.
I like that a lot.
But we bought the moon. Okay, yes, they bought the moon.
They bought the moon. Yeah, we shouldn't be able to happen, but they did.
Because money. Yeah, I'm above the law.
The moon is mine. Okay. And there's immediate conflict when they land because obviously they're in enemy territory. They're in the enemy's moon base, but they've got to and they have to bleed the stones, right, to get everything, the fuel for their ship,
absolutely.
The water for their ship.
I like the idea that one of them, maybe it's Maria Puccinelli, maybe it's just like an avid, what do you call it? She's recording the whole thing. Like on her...
Oh, she's like a latter-day vlogger of some
kind.
just
she's somebody who likes doing that. She tweets or whatever the future tweeting is, all that kind of nonsense. So she's
There's some kind of website called Mouthpiece, which has replaced Twitter.
Yeah,
you send out mouths or something.
I love it already.
It's terribly bad.
Yeah. Wonderful. So that's great. So
she kind of live streams everything.
Yeah, exactly. As a live streamer, I like that. So
I think something almost physically confrontational has to happen on this moon base. You know, some kind of, or even if it's just kind of chest beating.
I think it can get to that, and I think they say, oh yes, don't worry, you'll get your refuel, but they just keep leading them off into this complex of rooms, and you know, they just put them in this sort of like box room with, you know, like maybe with a cafeteria, and they never come and get them.
Yes.
You know, and then so maybe Frank gets aggressive, maybe Shirl, because I can imagine both Frank and Shirl, particularly Shirl, I think would be very you know, forthright.
Well, they're doers, not sayers.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. So it's like they're not going to just sit around and let this happen.
Exactly, and maybe some more interpersonal conflict is that Frank thinks that they need to go out there and bang heads together to get it done, and Shirl's like,
no, we need to diplomacy.
Yeah, so she's a protagonist, so she's the one who makes decisions. So she leaves this horrible box room and actually goes out to find someone and get something done, right?
Yeah. So who do they meet then? You know, who does she come across?
I tell you what, there's got to be a kind of a
meet Deacon Cutter, right?
At some point, but maybe it's a neutral party, some sneebly government type who's up there to make sure that these two corporations
part of the great UN government.
Yes,
the world government. Yes,
and actually that was probably part of one of the provisos for Standard Rock being able to buy the moon, was that you have to give credence to governments and other agencies and other corporations who want to come up and use that base.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
it's your moon, it's your base.
So it's kind of like the governor of the moon governor.
Yes, they meet the moon governor, the lunar governor.
The lunar, there we go.
The lunar, which lunar makes everything sound so much better when you're talking about the moon.
Like solar does with the sun, right?
Yeah.
So the lunar governor, I'm getting sort of maybe African dude or something like that.
Yes.
I don't.
Benjamin Matanza.
Okay.
Right, it's already in my head apparently. Mr. Matanza.
Benjamin Matanza.
I am the governor of the moon. Okay. I'm not going to try an African accent because that's going to get racist real quick.
Yeah, don't. But yeah, so yeah, Benjamin Matanza, the governor of the moon. I think maybe he takes his job incredibly seriously.
Yes.
Right. So he believes, and he's not happy about what's happened to the moon, but he's just doing the job.
Yeah.
Right. Because maybe he was in a space program, or he studied space, you know, at university or something. And he took the job because he believed somebody who believed in the moon had to take the job.
Yes, maybe he was like a mid-level UN, diplomat or something, but had a passion for space.
So maybe Benjamin Matanza comes to meet Shirley and says, don't worry, they do this all the time. They do this with every other company that comes here.
Yes,
right.
They're bound to do it with you, especially because you are the rival.
And he sort of starts talking to Shirley and sort of giving her tips, and then Cutter just walks in and goes, it's like, you shouldn't be here anymore.
Yeah.
Get back in the room. You got another 6 weeks for the fuel.
Yeah. I like that they're trying to delay them as well.
Yeah, just sort of like pushing away and just sort of going, you can't be talking. You haven't got a permit. And his whole team comes in and sort of shoves,
they kind of
drags her away. So how does she behave in this situation? How does she react? She's got a few moments before they drag her back to her room, the guards or his heavies.
I don't. Maybe it's a bit contrived, but
drive away.
Okay, she's Australian, and she's an Australian woman who's made her own money in mining. She's not a pushover in any sense of the word. So can it come to fisticuffs? Maybe she lamps some down.
I love
face,
her lamping him. That's fine.
By the way, for foreign listeners and audiences, lamp is a British verb for punch someone hard.
Yeah, in a kind of blunt and heavy way.
Blunt and heavy, love it. Yes, although punching is rarely spiky and concentrated.
Well, yeah, but it's not a jab, is it? You can't.
That's true. Yes, it's a more of a.
It's a heavy. Maybe a hook could be a.
Yeah. Okay.
Something like that.
I like how he had to get that out before we can move on. What does lamp really mean? So, she doesn't lamp anyone big like Deacon Cutter or anything. Just one of their goons. Maybe one of the other guys.
No, I think she lamps one of the goons, as we're going with lamp now as the word. But I think she also manages to just grab his lapel or something, and just
and maybe because it all gets quite conflicty, and there's punches are exchanged, and then maybe just before they all leave the room, there's just that moment of silence where she grabs his lapel and says something. What could she say to Deacon Cutter? And maybe, to be honest, we mentioned that verb rape earlier, and she says, all you guys are going to do is go out there and rape these asteroids.
You've already raped the moon.
Yeah, you raped the moon, you're going to rape these asteroids. We're going to make sure
we're looking to build something. And even if you stop us here, even if you stop us doing this thing, we're still going to succeed. Yeah. We're still going to push ahead, no matter what you do.
Because we're humans. We're humans who build and grow and develop.
Exactly.
You're animals who destroy and crush.
beyond Terra.
Yes,
we are beyond Terra.
I like that. Maybe she realizes after that conversation, like, you know what? Maybe I do hold some of the values of the company I work for. I was taking the job just for money and stuff, but actually
exactly.
I do believe in some of these
So
values.
this is the moment where she truly...
Yeah, that's a good turning point. Yeah,
I like that as a turning point. Good terminology.
Can I just add a small aside that I thought of?
Hit.
Standard Rock. I mentioned earlier that Shirl lost her money in a collapsed deal with the Chinese. It was Standard Rock who came in and undercut her in that deal. So there's that sense of aggression from her towards them anyway.
Course, yeah.
Okay.
So and so how does Benjamin Muntanza react to this whole endeavour since he's here as well?
That's a good point.
So does he help her? I assume he sort of obviously is trying to mediate and so.
Well, let's put it this way: something needs to happen that will allow them to get their fuel much more quickly.
But it's really got to be something she does.
Exactly.
But he can facilitate.
Is there something she says to him or does with him, perhaps? But speaking is probably better in this case.
So maybe she gets dragged away, and then her and Benjamin have a conversation.
Yes.
In
his office with a massive window
and
that
there's
looks
guards
out
outside,
onto the moon.
And she says, "You've got to force them. You've got to force the Earth government."
Oh yes, and let's say
to give me the fuel.
You can see Earth out of the window, but behind his chair in the office.
Of course, you can.
Look at that place. This is what we're fighting for, right?
Yeah.
Maybe up till now he's been ineffective.
Yeah.
He's gone up to the moon,
yes.
and he's been... What's that verb when someone essentially deliberately keeps you out of the loop? It doesn't matter if you don't remember it, but Standard Rock basically,
keep him out of all the decision making.
Keep him out of everything, yeah. And he's like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna be...
Sidelined.
Who I meant to... Yeah, they sidelined him, exactly that, yeah. But how does she... do something that makes him feel like that?
Her job in this little scene is to basically convince him to contact the Earth government on her behalf and argue that they need basically to create to basically sign a law that says in order for fair dealings in space business they have to be refueled.
Okay.
And not have to wait for 6 weeks.
I thought of a way of her doing something that convinces Matanza that this is the case.
Hit me.
And for once... I can bring the object back in, which we have, I don't think, ever done.
Maybe once.
Before. Your lovely little bit of meteorite. Maybe she has an equally tiny bit of billions-of-year-old meteorite.
That's lovely, yeah.
And she keeps it on maybe in a locker or in a watch compartment.
Yeah.
And as you said before...
Go with the watch compartment because it's much less common.
Yes, and easier for her to take into space, yeah.
Yeah.
Matanza, as you said, when he was a student, he studied space, passionate about space as a kid. And maybe he's forgotten that a bit.
I love it.
Like,
I love it.
Remember this? Remember that passion?
Yeah.
Look at this bit of meteorite. It's billions of years old. That's why we come up here. We don't come up here so that we remove all of these tiny pieces. We come up here so we can be part of them. We can combine with these meteorites, these billions of year old objects and artifacts in our universe. That's what convinces him. Like, yes, you're going to get what you want. I'm going to talk to Earth right now. I'm going to get a bill signed.
Done. Okay. Deal sold.
Okay.
Totally agree to that. So what happened? So I think we do a jump cut effectively now.
Yeah. So there's a little victory for them.
Yeah.
Because Matanza pulls the strings, gets something signed, says yes. Fuel's yours, everything that you need is yours. Yeah. These guys will have to share with you. And what that means is, because as you said, when they land on the moon, they see this massive mining behemoth being built. That's not finished yet. So they get out quicker. Beyond Terra are off quicker.
Yeah.
They're ahead of the game. They're out of the gate sooner than their rivals. But of course, their rivals will eventually catch up with them.
Well, yeah, just maybe they're a couple of weeks behind, So that's why we're delaying 6 weeks.
They get all their stuff. They go. Something obviously needs to beset them because they're on the wave of a victory. We've got everything. We're out of the gate sooner. What happens?
I think, or maybe it's as simple as their ship is sabotaged.
Oh, that's great.
So, but it waits till they get into space.
Right.
Course, so they launch from the moon on using the moon's launch systems that are there, probably having again to hire off.
Well, would you need to launch on the moon? All you have to do is provide a little bit of thrust and you're off, right, to escape the gravity.
Well, sure, yeah. You still need, I guess, fuel. We've already discussed that. So yeah, it's a launch from the moon, but they've been sabotaged. So maybe their thrusters go down or something. So they're just lost. So they have to sort of repair on the fly.
I like that. Yeah.
My only problem is, they probably will need a second stage anyway, or a third stage or a fifth stage, whatever it is at this point, in order to get the momentum to again go out to the asteroid belt. You will need to...
What if there was some kind of sabotage that was more related to the story and the character, which is like their mining equipment has been sabotaged?
I like that. So yeah, Deacon Cutter made it happen. And so as they're loading on, Deacon Cutter's there as they're walking on, and he's just like, good luck out there. I'm sure you'll be ahead of us.
yeah. He doesn't say it, but he thinks it.
Yeah.
That would mean that our team would have to pull together to
This guy's got a moustache, by the way.
Deacon Cutter.
Yeah.
American military
moustache.
Standard issue military moustache, right?
Yeah.
The military and cops have and firemen have all the time. Yeah. So this means that the Beyond Terra team have to work together. So Frank Slab built space stations, so he's already gotten in terms of fixing stuff on the space.
Yeah. And they've got some pilots.
Yeah.
And some general astronauts.
Periscope Jack, veteran miner.
Yeah.
Mining equipment's his deal. Shirl obviously knows how to fix stuff,
Yeah,
and then
Maria
is a geologist. She'll just help in a non-skilled way. Like, what can I do?
Yeah, exactly.
Even
just
pitch
pitch in.
You guys coffee.
Pitch it, and she'll record the whole thing.
Yeah. That's great. That's what she contributes regardless.
Regardless. And I think she's like beaming it back to Earth, right?
And in
a vlog,
people start. They get followers, and it's going to help them in the end.
So they've got the problem. So it's all. So you say their mining equipment's bust. So they repairing it en route?
I think when they get there, they only realise when they get to the meteorite. And the stuff
so en route, I do want a little bit of a moment, which is fuck, we're in space, right? And they're looking out the window and it's quiet, and they're all just stuck in this capsule together. These four and maybe one other guy,
a NASA pilot, as it were.
Yeah, so there's not that many people, and it's quiet inside the spaceship, and only space beyond, and they're looking out of the beautiful windows and sort of going, oh fuck. So I just want to get a sense of how these characters feel. So this is the first time Shirl's been to space, right? She's been flying a bit. She hates flights. How is she feeling right now at this moment when she realizes she's really in space? She's beyond the Earth's gravity well, right?
Yeah,
right.
I think it'd be nice if they have a window and Earth is in that window. I know we've used that before. We don't have to use it. It
might be a little further away now, so more of a pale blue dot.
Yeah, maybe that helps give perspective, and maybe up until now, especially with her bankruptcy, all of her issues and problems have been. Just it's been her whole life. She can look back on this, as you say, pale blue dot and go, oh, you know what? It's not so bad. All of my problems are over there, and I'm here in space.
Yes,
with the man I used to love. It could be worse.
Even though he's a dick.
Even though he's a dick, it could be worse.
Yeah, and basically, and two of my greatest friends and colleagues I've ever worked with.
Yeah. Maybe she could even have a conversation with Maria.
Yeah.
Two women, and Maria's like, what went on with Frank? You want to talk about that? And they have a little heart-to-heart about her ex-husband.
Yeah, and maybe even just sort of like they talk about the business as well. Like, why did you? They both sort of going,
why are we both?
Why are we here? What made us leave Earth and do this ridiculously dangerous thing? And I guess between Jack Thompson and Frank Slab, there can be a little bit of jockeying.
Yeah.
At this point, because obviously Frank Slab's going to try and, He's the uber masculine.
Yes, and probably Frank never liked Jack because he knew that he was too close to Shirl when they were working together.
And like good friends and all that sort of thing. So there's a little.
Which gives some tension when they work together to fix his equipment.
So that's great. So I feel like I like the idea of just Shirl and Maria having a conversation while looking out at space, maybe pointing. I don't know whether you can see the stars when you're on a space shuttle. That's a good point. I don't know.
It depends how close to the Earth you are.
So maybe they're far away from the Earth. So
then
yes,
you probably can. You see the star field.
They're maybe just talking, pointing out. So is that constellation or has it moved? So they're having a little chat about that. That's a really fun thing. So I sort of want to get a sense of how will it. So what is Jack doing? How's he feeling about being out here in space?
Yeah, because he's a bit of a lone wheel, to be honest. A bit of a third wheel almost, quite literally in terms of the romance side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's brought Periscope Jack to space?
How does he feel about being in space? Is he frightened?
Here's something.
Yeah.
Again, might be a contrived. He's dying. He's got a terminal illness. And for him, it's a case of see the stars before I die.
Okay.
See the heavens. Maybe he's even thinking like maybe on his limited time left on Earth. Don't have that time on Earth, and maybe he thinks he's even going to die in space.
Or maybe he just plans to live and work on the asteroid. That idea.
Yeah.
For as long as
he's leaving everything behind, and he's going to.
Yeah. So maybe he's done with his life there. He's dealt with everything. He hasn't got a family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe he's looking to start a family when he gets there.
Oh, that's nice.
Actually, so that's something we can,
that's a very.
it doesn't mean we necessarily have to have one of the characters make a family with him in the story.
No,
but
that might be post-story.
yeah,
Yes,
in the epilogue.
Yeah. Okay.
Huda.
Let's move it on then into the meat of the story.
So we, I think I want to get back to the bad guys. I think they've launched.
They've finished their behemoth. Yeah,
and it's probably going faster.
Yeah, of course. Faster, harder.
Maybe can we do it? It was called the Orion Project, which is a classic space flight project. The way it powered itself, the way it powered its moves to go fast. The idea was to escape the sun's gravity well to go interstellar. It was to get speed. The idea was to get speed, but it was to fling atomic bombs out of the back to generate thrust. That was a real plan.
Okay, that's a crazy way of ejecting mass for thrust.
Yeah, yes.
Atomic bombs.
Yeah, effectively just shooting atomic bombs out of the back to generate. I mean, let's take this company to the ridiculous level of.
Yeah, and also it makes them more bastards. Absolutely.
So of course they get away from the moon a little bit before they start the major thrust, but they're
controlled nuclear explosions.
Controlled nuclear explosions. So what do they call their ship? By the way, I feel like we need to name this death machine.
Yes, Black Diamond.
Done.
Because black is cool and diamond is resources.
So Black Diamond, yes, which is the SR Black Diamond.
Oh yeah, Standard Rock Black Diamond. Love
Yeah,
it. SR. Yeah, they use that as their naming convention. That's so pretentious.
The SR Black Diamond is just powering along because it's obviously getting thrust under. They're going to have to slow down using nukes as well.
Yeah.
So either turn around or they've got another sort of nuke thruster on the front.
Yes. Maybe the classic turnaround. Flip the ship.
Yeah.
Thrust the other way, right?
Yeah.
So eventually they're actually their nuclear explosions are actually facing the Beyond Terra team as they approach, and that nuclear explosion is getting closer.
That's great. So there we go. So there's a moment of conflict that happens. So a nuke goes off kind of too near, just as the Australian Beyond Terra team are reaching the asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
So just as that is happening, and a slowing one of the nukes sort of goes nearby and knocks them off course.
Oh, lovely.
So how does that happen? So,
or maybe they're not off course. So they've arrived. The Beyond Terra arrived at the meteorite, the asteroid. Thank you. And the nuke affects their equipment because it's electrical EMP type stuff, right? So it knocks out their comms with Earth or something, or knocks out their comms, knocks out their maybe life support system. They've been on emergency power for a while, so it makes them angry with Standard Rock. Okay. So
it knocks out the life support. So I just feel that there's an action scene here.
They have to rush to like recouple, rewire stuff. Star Trek style.
So how does it? So let's talk about all the things. So what's gone wrong with the ship in this explosion specifically? So I feel like maybe the outboard thrusters have gone, and maybe some of the life support's gone on the outside.
Yeah, it's blown a life support,
and they've gone
CPU.
spinning for a little bit, and they managed to sort of correct that a little bit, but they have to maybe do a spacewalk. So obviously I like the idea of maybe in the explosion one of the NASA pilots gets killed.
Oh shit! So you're down an astronauts, yeah.
Exactly. So one of the astronauts has to go out, and maybe Frank goes out.
Yeah, because they have to go out in twos, yeah.
And then we've got maybe Shirl is talking them through. Shirl's talking them, leading the team that's talking them through. So Shirl, Maria, and Periscope Jack are on the inside monitoring everything and trying to fix things on the inside.
Maybe to give Maria a bit more to do. She majored in geology, but she also did a course in electrical engineering.
Yes.
So she can get to work on blown fuse panels and stuff and try and get their life support back working to full.
I'm sure she'd have a basic knowledge of that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's fine. So they're doing stuff on the inside. Maybe her and Periscope Jack are kind of doing that kind of interior, basic, electronics repair sort of stuff, which they probably would have been trained with a little bit. And then Shirl's just sort of maybe guiding some kind of robotic arm.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, he's probably had skills in
not
that.
Not a Canada arm, an Australia arm.
Austral arm.
Australia arm, or a Morocco arm.
Or an Australia. Oops. That's terrible.
Sorry, Australia. I mean, wait.
Australia arms.
Australia arms, yes.
Okay.
So they go on. So, what consequences them going on the outside of the? I feel like we want an injury at the very least to one of the two going on the outside.
Yes. Here's something that happens. The Black Diamond ship is now approaching. They're not using their nuclear thrusters.
They're doing slower thrusters now.
They're doing manoeuvring thrusters, and it glides past them. very, very close, maybe close enough to block out the sun, and so that the EVA people lose the light, and an injury is caused possibly to the other NASA pilot.
I like
right?
that.
There's really
Oh no! So he gets like like in Gravity, right?
Yeah,
gets tangled up in all the bits,
tethers.
and the tethers and whatnot. Yes, I can't get away from tethers. Tangled up in all the tethers and piping, and and maybe some kind of parachute sort of thing. You know, all tangled up in that, and goes flying around, and then Frank Slab dives out to try and do the rescue, but he's not like an expert astronaut, so he's not.
Yeah, but he's a big, strong dude.
He's a big, strong dude, and he's worked in space before.
That's a good point. He has worked in
so
space.
he's not like a kick-ass, George Clooney.
Yes,
he's not that guy.
Or Mark Watney.
Mark Watney, yes. So he grabs him, but obviously this guy just goes flying off. But maybe Frank's suit like half opens a little bit, so it just like so he like maybe gets his hand gets pneumonia or something because it comes in and freezes his hand off or something.
That's super wicked.
So they have to and they have to come in and they have to like do emergency first aid and cut off his hand.
That's awesome.
Right. So who does the cutting off of the hand? Maybe since she's a chemist, Maria Puccinelli might be the one to do. I don't know. Chemists and biology, why not?
Sure. Well, so far she's a geologist, a chemist, an electrical engineer.
She's a scientist.
Amputation.
So she's basically our go-to scientist / medical person.
Well, they have to be careful not to Mary Sue her so that she's too good at everything.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. That's a nice section. What next? We've got to get into like the
So here's the
conflict
contention, a
with the
bit of a
other
problem
guys.
I have.
Yeah.
Are they landing on the same asteroid?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right.
So my thoughts were, and this could be reinforced by Mr. Matanza pulling some strings before they leave the moon base.
Yeah.
That, there's a new Earth bill that says you will share these. No one owns these things. So yes, you're going to have to share it if you're both going to that thing. So of course, Standard Rock are planning to try and totally, mine everything out of their side. And of course, beyond Terra, trying to leave some things on their side.
They're trying to build infrastructure and mine a little bit. So, in which case, I imagine the giant SR Black Diamond landing and just maybe it's got some big sort of jaws that just sort of like eating and just devouring the asteroid and
yes,
processing it into things that it into like cubes and firing them back to the moon.
That's excellent.
Launching them back toward the moon, right?
Yeah. How are they caught at the moon? We don't have to worry too much about it. But if you're firing something that has none of its own thrust, how do you catch it? Is there literally a big net on the moon?
They don't care.
Oh, wait, I thought you meant that that's how they were sending their resources.
They're sending their resources back, but they just smash into the moon and then they mine them, pick them up later.
Shit, son. I thought maybe they send them slowly enough that you could maybe
you could send them slow.
Go out to meet them with a vessel.
Yeah, I mean, you could just do that, yeah.
But I like the idea that they're such dicks. Fire them in the moon into these craters. Like, we'll get there later.
Yeah, so they've just got all these, they're just processing them, firing them back. So
maybe they fire them at the moon so that the heat from the impact actually fuses all these resources together, so they've just got one nice big
and it
puddle
flecks
of stuff to
come
deal
off and like go to Earth, and it causes meteorites to land down on Earth.
Like we've got here. You brought it back in.
Third time.
Okay, yeah. What's wrong with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, that's the problem, though. They're eating the asteroid too fast, and they're causing
destabilizing
it, causing trouble for our infrastructure building on the other side. So, what is Shirl Basset's action? What is she doing to solve that problem?
They could go down the route of the whole like, if you can't beat them, join them, and actually adopt Standard Rock's outlook, which is like fuck them, and actually try and sabotage them, not lethally because they're not dicks, but sabotage Standard Rock's production.
I like the idea of a sabotage mission.
So they kind of
let's talk about. I feel like there's a debate. There's a debate going on here. Who in Shirl's team is for the mission and who is against the mission?
Good call. Okay.
Out of the 4 left, because we've killed the 2 NASA astronauts.
I think actually, funny enough, Frank Slab, her ex,
is against it.
I was going to say with it. So it's like the one thing they can agree on. Like, yeah.
Okay, so those two.
These are big burly guys. Like, yeah, let's go fuck them up, right? But maybe he wants to take it too far. So there is that still conflict with him.
Oh, so
I think Periscope Jack and Maria maybe are against it, you know.
Yeah, and so are they both equally strong, or is one stronger than the other against it?
Good question. I think Maria would be vehemently opposed on moral grounds to sabotaging them, whereas Periscope Jack just doesn't like confrontation.
Well, yeah, and think about it like this, because he's a fracker. He wants to be able to build his equipment and get using it. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So they have a little argument anyway. So, but what's the decision? Because Shirl makes the final decision. She's in charge. What's her final decision?
Is it we're going to go out and we're going to sabotage something, one of their pieces of machinery or equipment?
Well, they got nukes, so we could just play with that funness.
Ooh. I mean, sabotaging nukes is a dangerous game. Especially if you don't know what nukes do or what they are properly. But I like the idea that they can maybe convince the Standard Rock guys that they have a problem with their nuclear stockpile for their thrust.
That's interesting. So yeah, how do they do
a false warning? And again, Maria's an electrical engineer. She could do it. She doesn't want to. She's very reluctant. But Shell's like, we're going to do it. We're going to go over there together as a team.
You're going to do this.
We're going to sneak in to like one of their little fucking pop-up tents or whatever it is, and we're going to convince them that the nukes are gone.
I just want to get a visual of what because I've kind of got a good visual of the
big jaws.
The jaws of the Black Diamond machine that's going. They've probably got a few.
Part of their spaceship disconnected when they got there, and it becomes like a semi-permanent operating base.
Yeah. So how I want to get an image of the Beyond Terra's base. What does it look like just before we leave?
Actually, yeah, we didn't even talk about what kind of a vessel they took.
What have they started to do? So I assume they've landed and they're
maybe Beyond Terra sent out some unmanned supply missions before they got there, right? So there's already a bunch of stuff waiting for them.
So yeah, maybe they've got lots of drones rolling across, and they're like
auto builders.
Yeah, auto builders, maybe, and that's a lot of what Frank Slab and Periscope and Maria are doing, which is basically starting the mining process and converting it to steel and other raw materials,
which they can build. And
they're starting to get these drones to sort of, let's say, build a sort of stable structure, like some kind of globe.
So actually,
some scaffold. They're building a scaffold.
So actually,
for their space station.
The brief, the mission for the Beyond Terra team is not mining resources. It's turning resources into buildings, and really, the eyes of the world are increasingly on them because it's a kind of not a batsman's of fire, but it's certainly a proving ground for this idea. Can we go out, get resources, put infrastructure down, and start extending humanity,
expanding humanity into the cosmos at large?
And again, like Shirl before was understanding like those values. Maybe rather than having a goal of I need to get money back because I lost my money, it's actually her new goal becomes helping humanity to prove this idea against these dickheads.
So basically, I'm imagining a kind of small, very basic module base with expanding scaffold going in, throughout, and around their area of the asteroid. Yeah, and they're just gradually building a kind of space station, effectively. Yes, but that hopefully will be in a stable orbit. That's fantastic. I love this immediately. The fact this happening at the same time is hilarious. So
are we moving towards a kind of the confrontation?
I think we're moving towards the ordeal, which is when they go in when they do this mission. Yeah. So when they do this mission, it's going to go wrong.
Lovely.
Right.
Yeah.
So probably somebody's going to get captured.
Someone might even die, blasted off into space. Right.
Screw it. Why not?
Yeah. Periscope Jack, maybe. Sadly. The ex-husband.
I'm seeing more of a. We'll see.
Okay.
I want to get there. I think any three of those others can happily die, Not happily die, very sadly.
Like you didn't want to offend anyone about our made-up characters.
Yeah, well, some people don't like characters dying. So
well, I get that.
Yeah. So because it gives us a confrontation with Deacon Cutter. So they sneak in. So how are they sneaking in? Maybe on a little craft, or
they have a little buzzy craft that gets them there. Yeah.
So maybe they go two teams though.
I like that.
So some of them go across the asteroid.
Yeah.
Via land, as it were.
Yeah.
And some of the others, maybe two and two. Or 2, 3 and 1.
I think it's just the core 4 of them. Leave the NASA pilot alone.
No, the NASA pilot's dead. They're all dead.
Oh, they're both dead? I thought one guy was just injured and one guy was dead.
No, they both died.
Oh, dear. Okay.
We killed them off for story ease.
Okay. So maybe Shirley and Periscope Jack go off together. And Frank and Maria are together, and which gives them a chance to converse about, Maria asks Frank about his relationship with Shirley, and Frank probably maybe airs some concerns about Shirley being with Jack and their possible romance, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, They're doing
So who's going in the spacecraft? Probably Frank is going to be taking the spacecraft, right? Because he's the most experienced space-wise.
space person, yes.
Space-wise? Is that a word?
Yeah, anything wise is a word, yeah. Space-wise, cheese-wise.
Fast-wise?
Yeah. I don't know why you're worried about that. We've said some far stupider things than that before, without question.
So, yeah, those two are together in the spacecraft, and they've got a mission. So their mission's maybe to get to the nuclear thing at the back and do their thing, right? And maybe because she's a chemist, right? She can like pour some acid in it or something.
That's how it works.
You can build a bomb. That's half of what chemists.
Yes, again, that's what they do in The Martian. Yeah.
Yeah. So she can be clever and build a bomb, and then maybe the idea of Jack and Shirl is they're there almost like openly for some diplomacy.
Oh, I like that. Distraction.
Yeah.
Yes, well, we're both on this asteroid, and we've got to share it while we're here.
So they got in and said that, and while the other guys are breaking in the back.
I love that.
What happens? What goes? So their goal is to obviously sabotage. What goes wrong? What's the conflict?
I like the idea that during Shirley and Jack's meeting, with probably Deacon Cutter, some lackey comes in and does that classic whispering in Deacon's ear.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, shit! Like they probably found out what Maria and Frank are doing. And maybe Deacon does a few finger clicks and some of his goons leave the room and obviously going to go and deal with that shit. And maybe a while later you hear an explosion and either Frank or Maria is flushed out into space from whatever compartment they're working in, and obviously like Deacon had arranged it deliberately to blow them both into space but only kill one of them.
So who dies?
It's difficult to know.
Well, Frank Slab would be the obvious one to die because it obviously means something a little closer to. But obviously the other point is if Maria dies, it's a lot more like she was a bit more innocent in the situation.
Makes you feel a bit more, yeah. And also she was very useful.
Yes.
There's a lot of things, and losing her is also a functional loss as well.
So maybe she dies, but Frank Slab is horrifically injured.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loses an arm,
Yes.
Maybe arm and half his leg.
Yeah.
So he's just like completely fucked.
Yeah.
Like a bomb victim.
Got it.
Yeah.
But still alive.
Still alive.
They'll have to care for him until they get back. Yeah.
God, so but I was going to say capture, but you took it. So now does Deacon Cutter capture them? Or does he let them go?
Yeah, probably with a snarky kind of, you better go and take care of your wounded, eh?
Yeah.
Lets them go. They go back. And then...
So this is the all is lost lull effect.
Exactly, yeah, before they come up to meet the shit and get it done.
So what has she gained from this endeavour? What's her reward for making the sacrifice of Maria and half of Frank?
Good question. That's a great question.
So
what have they gained? It must have done something to set the Standard Rock guys back a bit, right?
So maybe the sabotage worked to some extent.
It has bought them time.
And maybe while she was there, she and Periscope Jack learned something about the ship.
Great.
Yeah.
Or learn something about the operation, which they can report back to Matanza or something.
Yes, that's dodgy.
And that's illegal.
Yeah, that's illegal. And that maybe gives them the carte blanche to...
Love that, yes.
Slice off half the asteroid and get rid of them or something.
Okay. Do we need to know specifically what they find out? Or can we leave that to natural, generic storytelling?
I kind of want to know a little bit about what
are they doing that's worth reporting?
Obviously they've used nukes in space and nobody seems to have complained about that yet. So what are they doing that's really bad? Maybe, have they got some kind of space slaves? I'm just trying to think of something that's really bad.
Love that idea, actually. Now you mention it, they've taken people from some poor country somewhere, and they've like the classic slaving of old, put them in the cargo hold of this fucking ship, hacked in, and now they've got them in with these like space mining tools, just hacking out the asteroid.
Yeah, we're not quite hacking at the asteroid, but working.
Sure. It's some modern equivalent.
Yeah.
And we lost Maria, right? Maria was live streaming everything.
Yeah.
So when they get back, they turn on Maria's live stream and they tell all her fans like,
brilliant.
She's dead.
That's the reward.
Yeah. And
that's
that support from Earth, right?
Yeah, that kudos, as it were.
That
and that carte blanche to do whatever necessary.
I love it.
Right? That now, the public is behind them. Get those guys.
Yeah, Mr. Matanza's on the line from the moon and saying, listen, you're in what is essentially international waters out there. There's no space police, there's no space army we can send, so It's you versus them. And if you need to do something which maybe results in somebody getting hurt on their side, then you do what you got to do.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
Frank stole one of the nukes while he was...
Oh my god, he did. Of course he did. Yes, that's so Frank Slab of him.
Yeah, but he's obviously too injured to do anything.
Yeah.
So, basically, I don't think Shirl's a killer, right?
No.
And I think Shirl and Jack... and maybe, I think they get a little close in the last few things. I like the idea. Maybe not like... super, but I like the idea. There's a nascent romance there.
Yes, you do like that word, nascent. Yes.
Fledgling, would you like? Burgeoning.
Burgeoning, all good words.
So maybe it doesn't necessarily have to go anywhere. But maybe those two have to strike out together and like plant a bomb somewhere in the middle of the asteroid.
Yeah.
To blast the asteroid in two.
Yes.
So they get it's gonna disrupt their mission a little bit, but it's separated. So it's kind of cleave it in twain.
Cleaving in half, cleaving in twain. Excellent.
Cleaving in twain.
Modern language for a space story.
Well, cleft.
We shall cleave this asteroid in twain, says I. Put the nuke betwixt us and they.
Wunderbar, sir, wunderbar.
Okay.
Right, so they've got to do this little mission then. So
yeah, get the nuke in there.
So,
this is becoming more like Armageddon. Well done.
No, well, it had to happen.
Yeah.
So obviously, they've got all Frank all in the med bay or whatever, all strapped up. But maybe he's got like a little console that he's using with his one remaining arm, and he's watching them and talking them through because he's obviously got some expertise, right? And he's all like, get these fuckers because they fuck me up, right? So he's angry and he's forgotten everything. All his bullshiness has gone away, right, at this point because he realized. So I feel like he's at the home base and just sort of leading and pointing ahead. Like, right?
Was that a question?
No. I was just setting up what was happening, and so he's guiding them while they're.
Okay, I got distracted because I wrote down an idea for later.
Okay,
that's distracted me, but I wanted to get it down.
So
okay.
he's guiding them. He's talking. He's being the guy in the chair.
Got it.
Effectively, like
Capcom.
The Capcom, like with the computer, but he's only got one hand, so he can only half do it.
Ah, yes. You can still do a good clicky-clacky with one hand.
Yeah, he's doing a sweet clicky-clacky on those weird angled computers they only have on space stations. And he's floating around, so he's and he's being good-humoured about it. And I say, his rage against, and his bullshiness about Shirl and Jack has completely evaporated I think at the moment. Because I think he doesn't care anymore. He's just a half man, and he's kind of upset about that, And he sees the larger issue at hand. Mm-hmm. That's kind of resolving that storyline a little bit, that subplot of the romance between Shirl and not the romance, the ex-romance. So they've kind of reconciled now.
Yeah.
They've reconciled now, but reconciled at the end of their relationship. So let's talk about how the mission goes and how they crawl. How Shirl goes out there and maybe Deacon Cutter's got a notice.
Yes, exactly, because they've got to have a fight with him.
They've got to have a last,
And then he's got to die in the nuclear blast that separates the asteroid. That's how it's got to go down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't see any other way of that happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so they worm their way into the middle of the asteroid through caverns and a bit of mining as well. So it keeps them mining, but the Standard Rock team have detected seismological readings in a strange area. And so okay, it's obviously the Beyond Terra guys. And Deacon says, I'm going to deal with this myself. Takes some of his top guys, his top goons, and heads towards the centre of the asteroid as well. So there's got to be that clash.
And they're all military. Yeah.
Exactly, there's got to be a climax. And our
Space
guys...
guns.
Exactly, and our guys therefore have to beat them with guile and wits rather than guns.
And sneakiness, yes.
And eventually a nuclear explosion.
So maybe they sort of mine down into the... So maybe it's a bit loose, the asteroid in the middle with all regolith. There's probably holes.
Yes, and before...
Caverns inside the
asteroid. Before Maria had died, she'd warned them all about it. She's like... She's an expert in this. She's probably the cleverest person in the world about it.
Maybe they're watching some of her vlogs to get...
And they realise, that there's something there that helps them. This structural instability. Yeah. And they can probably bury Deacon's goons, and then all they've got to do is deal with him. How though? How do they deal with him? How does he get left behind?
So I think because they don't go over the surface of the asteroid. They go inside some of the caverns and... beneath the rolling...
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, so they're going inside the asteroid, and he follows them, and he just suddenly surrounds them in the middle with his military guys. I mean, that's the worst possible thing that could possibly happen in this instance. Is they're surrounded underground by guys with guns. How the hell do these guys get out of it with just Jack, Periscope Jack, and Shirl, and obviously Frank Slab on the blower?
So
maybe Frank Slab can do something from the outside to give them an edge.
I reckon he guides Periscope Jack to somewhere. So first of all, Shirley physically meets Deacon and his guys, and they're having an argument, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
she's
they're
distracting them.
Yeah,
and Frank Slab's on the comms, and he's saying to them like, I've detected elements of blah blah blah. If you look up, do you see sparkling glimmers of minerals or something up to your left? And like, yeah, we see those. It's like, right, Periscope Jack, you go up there while Shirl's got these guys distracted. Go up there, plant a charge or something, or mine it out a little bit with a tool, and that's going to destabilize this cavern when you want it to.
Oh, so just a little shit. I guess you could also control. They could bring some drones in since they've got the whole drone plan as well.
Absolutely.
So maybe Shirl is controlling some drones at this whole point. Right.
Yeah.
So she's got like them slaved to her. Yeah.
She's like sending them up there, sending them down there.
Yeah. So maybe Shirl's got a load of drones under control, and then Frank Slab's just got loads of cameras everywhere.
Yes, guiding them, helping them. Yeah. And then at some point she's like, now, and it collapses everything. Deacon manages. Maybe it's like a classic canyon rift where it starts splitting apart.
Oh yeah, and then Deacon and Shirl get into a kind of a tussle, and they're bashing around in the near zero G, because it's effectively zero G inside an asteroid, microgravity. They're bashing around and sort of floating, hurtling through, smashing rock, and she like brings out the nuke. And like, I don't know, I feel like just like slams it into his chest, and he goes falling away with the momentum.
Lovely, yeah.
And obviously they boost out, right?
Maybe. Because, as you said before, she's not a killer, so she probably wouldn't want to come if possible. But in the tussle, maybe he smashes her watch. It opens up, and that little meteorite goes floating away. She's lost that precious thing she
Yes,
had.
I love that, yeah.
So it's like, fuck you then, buddy. Pushes him away with the nuke. And 4 times he got it back in, eh? We're getting good at this, eh? That was almost my Leeds Yorkshire Asian accent.
Yeah.
Pushes him away with the nuke. He goes floating off, and they've got to haul ass out of there because it's going to explode any second.
Well,
now.
and I'm sure she's got the button.
Yes.
Surely she's just got a button in her hand, and she's going to do it because obviously she feels responsible.
Okay.
And they get out and they go. There's fireworks.
That lovely semi-silent space explosion.
But you've got to have Deacon over the
comms.
Over the comms, just talking and just going, like, trying to disarm the bomb. You can't do this.
Oh, okay, one of those moments where the hard guy is actually, oh no, and he's actually a bit weak and cowardly and snivelly in his last moments.
And then he blows up.
Yeah.
Because action.
Yeah, we've got nukes in the story. I'm glad you kind of managed to bring those back in.
Yeah, and he goes,
yeah.
And it explodes away, and so the
and
asteroid
the standard rock side, goes spinning off uncontrollably, and the Beyond Terra side stays kind of nice and stable.
They managed to save some of his guys.
Yeah, some of like the scientists, the civilian guys,
and some of those slaves.
Oh yeah,
space slaves.
Space slaves. Where did those go? Wonderful.
Yeah, some of the space slaves.
Yeah, and that the space slaves and the scientists and civilians come over to the Beyond Terra side where they've got infrastructure and buildings now and life support, and they can start making.
And they just make a cool spaceship, yeah. Okay, and that's basically the end of the story.
Yeah, I think that's wicked. Yeah,
I want to do a 10 years later epilogue,
or denouement. Yeah, where. Yeah, the kind of What were you thinking?
What happens 10 years later? I just feel like this single asteroid has turned into a giant space station.
She's living. Maybe she's not the governor in this case. Maybe the mayoress of that colony.
I think you can just say mayor.
Yeah, it wasn't neither of those are the right words. What I'm thinking of. She's the leader of that colony. Maybe it's a new word for it.
The Privarch.
Yes, Privarch.
No, we already said that before. Like,
but either way, she's in control of it.
The minister.
Yeah. And Frank lives there as well. They didn't reconcile the romance, but as you said,
and maybe there's sort of like still maybe Shirl and Jack never really got together. Never really worked, but they're still working together. They're still on the asteroid.
Yeah.
Maybe they met other people. On the romance side, I quite like that. And maybe there's a cool monument to Maria.
I was going to say there's a monument to Maria, and maybe this is where like Shirley and Frank and Jack meet up 10 years later. to remember those events.
Yes, so they meet
under
up,
the monument of
and I can
Maria.
just see like the rest of the solar system. There's other asteroids that have been converted.
That's wicked.
Yeah,
so
so
you
it's
can
just
see that they proved that point.
They proved the model. That's why the 10 years later was
Prove
necessary.
the model. That's the word I was looking for.
All
Thank
right.
you. Ian. Shake hands.
Wait,
we
title.
might do it after the title. Now that's what I was writing down earlier. I cheated a little bit. I only came up with one thing: mining the black. And I think something the black as well could work, but something spacey, but also a little bit abstract, like mining the black or mining the deep. That sounds like the sea, though.
Yeah.
Or something that's more to do with the characters and their journey.
I kind of like something like I like the asteroid element. I like the mining element. I like the space station-y element.
Yes.
And also the kind of the kind of tussly, racy rivalry.
Yeah, maybe the two different approaches.
Yeah, the corporate race there. So because you've got the whole crazy nuke spaceship, the black diamond coming down. So, the first asteroid, that kind of thing. The first rock.
The first rock. I like that. That's got a certain abstract quality to it. I like the first rock.
Oh, the first rock in the black, but that's going
the first home on the rock, something like that. The first colony.
First rock home.
The first rock home. You're like, what the fuck is that about? It could be a good thing, but no.
I like it's where you're going. What was it you said? Like mining
the black.
Mining the black does sort of suggest the right thing.
But mining doesn't quite get into what we were talking about here about that search for resources, that search for doing the right thing and extending humanity, really.
Beyond Terra?
Actually, yes. That's because that's what they're trying to do. Move humanity beyond Earth. You fucking got it.
There we go.
We
just
didn't
call
mean
it.
to swear, but sorry, but that was exciting. So
apologise for swearing. It is.
Sorry.
We will be bleeping out
listening.
none of the swearing in this.
Yeah, get fucked. Hey, no cultural appropriation this week, sadly.
We did well.
Now we can shake hands. That was a very good title.
Okay, yeah.
Great story. And this is nice and coincidental that it is the 60th anniversary.
Is it not the 50th?
It was a 69. Help me out there. So 70, 80, 90. 50 years.
50 years, yeah.
50
the golden anniversary.
Golden anniversary of the moon landings, the Apollo project. Amazing time. So I'm glad we had an opportunity to tell this story. But please, in the comments, on the website, email us. How did that monumentous event in history affect you? Were you alive then? How does it affect you now? Are you interested in space? That kind of thing. And
let me go further and say, what did you think of the moon landing then? How do you think we should go to space in the future? What do you think of the future of space travel? Are you one of those people who actually thinks we shouldn't go to space? If so, convince me you're right, because I'm at the moment convinced you're very wrong. But let me know, because I'm happy for you to listen to.
And we encourage you guys to find some way of celebrating this amazing occasion, this amazing anniversary, and I'm sure that this will serve in some small way as honour to that, indeed.
Even if accidental.
So, thank you for your time. Thanks for listening to our story.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time for a new object.
And a new story. Don't forget, sign up on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Hit like, subscribe and all that
Go
nonsense.
to the website, thespeculationstation.com.
That's confusing.
We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.
Speculation Station.